Welcome to another episode of Shift with Elena Agar. In this conversation, I chat with Catharine Montgomery. She's the founder of Better Together Agency. And we just had a really transparent, unfiltered conversation about starting a business, the realities, the ups and downs, the highs and the lows. She shared some of her journey and just kind of the unfair treatment that she got, some of the lows and as well as the highs of her journey and things that she learned a lot along the way, which I think is super practical for anybody who is starting a business. And it'll be really interesting for you to hear some of those things. And really just her resilience, her grit, and her continuous grind to really create a purpose-driven business and do the things that she really believes in and drive that business forward. So check it out if you're interested in starting a business. If you're completely new to this, I think it's going to be super helpful. So as always, please subscribe, follow on YouTube or wherever you might follow. Check out some of the shorts that we produce as well. I really appreciate the support. It helps me reach more people and come back for more. Catharine, welcome to the Shift Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for our conversation today.
I'm excited as well. I'm always excited when I get introduced to awesome people, and I think it was Milry that introduced us,
Mhm.
right? So we have to give shout out to Milry. He's a connector in my network, so I always invite recommendations from his side. So thank you, Milry. But Catharine, we have quite a bit to cover, you and I together today. But I want you to just give me a little bit of a snapshot of your career story because I think it's very important and interesting for this particular discussion. So take me back to maybe college days, or what did you study? Just like a snapshot of what you studied, where you worked, and kind of what brought you to start Better Together Agency.
Yeah, goodness, such a long story. So let's get down to it. But college days, so long ago, I went to Auburn University. My parents met there in Alabama, and
Ah,
I could not wait to leave the state. So even the same day I graduated from undergrad, I moved to Atlanta. And it was like a dream to live in a city. I lived there for a while, moved to DC, and DC was like I've made it in life if I can live in DC. It was that important to me, and I'd been here maybe a couple of times, but just knew that that's what I wanted to do. So moved to DC, and I was my whole career I worked in agencies, large public relations agencies, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the grind and the multitasking and all of that. But there was a point in my career where I wanted to do still work at an agency, but also help other people. And it was really hard for me to find that in DC. I actually could not find an agency that focused on, agency work and social impact. And so I moved to Boston, started working at a progressive agency. And at first it was really great. But I also knew nothing about Boston. I'd visited there a couple of times and really thought it was beautiful and everything, but living there was completely different. Um, it unfortunately is a very racist city, and I had no idea, none at all. I was like, oh, moving to the north is going to be like so like cool, and everybody's gonna love each other, and that was not the case at all. Like I felt
wow,
like
really?
I should go
Yeah.
back to Alabama where at least everybody's nice to each other. But so that was a learning experience. But while I was there, the progressive agency, we were doing, like I said, great work, cannabis equity, helping with the presidential election, union workers. And it was in 2022 in March when a woman at the agency started being racist toward me. And I just thought, I moved from DC here so I could work at a progressive agency. And then where do I find racism? Is at this progressive agency in
Mm.
Boston. And we hired an HR consultant since it was a small agency. It took her 5 months to say, oh, we didn't find any signs of racism. So by then it was about August 2022. And then the next month in September, the woman who was racist toward me got a raise and promotion. And really, I was like, okay, I should just leave. Obviously, they don't want me here again. I can go back to Alabama, live with my parents or something. I just can't stay here. But I had a mentor who said, Catherine, you have all the proof that she was being racist towards you. Like, you should not just leave. You need to get a buyout from them. And I was so nervous. I obviously had never done anything like this, but I got a union attorney because we were unionized, and he helped me write up what I should ask for. Called the president of the agency. I said, I'm going to go to the media. I'm going to go to the government. You just need to give me this buyout. And he's like, talk to my attorney. So it was literally a 2-minute conversation. The rest of the time, I spoke to his attorneys, and I ended up getting everything I asked for in the buyout. And then I added more. And then my mentor was like, always add a laptop. So I found the most expensive
Was that
laptop
a
I
laptop?
could and added to it. And So, I left in September 2022. I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. And I
Mm,
fortunately was in a place where I didn't have to just quickly get a job. So I was just looking around. I was on Slack channels. I was on this one called Ladies Get Paid. And it's like 50,000 women from around the world who just support each other. It's still around if anybody wants to join it. It's a Slack channel. And there was a recruiter who was on there, and she asked if anybody was looking to start an agency. There's a VC firm that only backs public relations agencies, and they're looking to expand to the US. And the first thing that comes to mind is that is really crazy and a little sketchy. That like, why do you need VC funding to start an agency? You just get clients, and that's how it goes. But I was like, I'm just, you know, figuring out what I want to do next. So I'll meet with her. I met with her. Really hit it off. And the next day, I met with one of the investors. We had some connections in common from other agencies we had worked at. And again, I wasn't looking to start an agency, but I was curious, sure I could. And the only thing I knew was that I wanted to focus on social impact. That's why I moved to Boston from DC. And also during that period, I had moved back to DC during COVID. As soon as I could leave Boston, I did. So I met with him. The 2 days later, I met with the other investor who lives in Germany. And he was like, how are you going to have an agency focused solely on social impact? And honestly, I was like, I don't know. I just found out about this week. I'm sure I can figure out how to make money from it. I had to Google how to create a business plan. There was no chat GPT back then, so I couldn't ask it to help me. It was actually Google searching. And I presented it to them. We spoke for a couple of months, and then I decided to move forward. And that was in December 2022. And so what I thought at that time was taking the worst part of, my career and turning it to something that I didn't know. I knew it could be possible, but hadn't thought of it. Like I hadn't thought
mm,
of starting an agency. And so we started building website, all that good stuff I launched in 2023. And, it was great. I was living out my dream of social impact work. We only work with organizations and companies that want to do campaigns that make the world a better place. And we never strayed from that. And so it was fantastic, very, very hard, as anyone knows who's run a business before. But we were doing what I really hoped to do if I had started an agency. So move forward to 2025, and I did tell you it was going to be a long story. So here we go.
okay.
2025. I'm celebrating 2 years of Better Together. It was around February, so we're a little bit late, but it was a fantastic opportunity to bring together people I hadn't seen in a while, and it was just it just filled my soul, like filled my heart to see everybody there. And then a month later, the investors who it wasn't traditional like ABC, seed money or anything like that. They didn't front me any money. It was more of advice and things like that. So they decided to fire the CFO. And, I was the only founder in the US. There were about six other founders in other parts, different countries. And they told us over a WhatsApp message. And I told them that the CFO has been more helpful to me than the both of you put together. And it's so true. Like he has been more supportive. He'd been there during hard times, through good times. And they were like, do not contact the CFO. So I immediately contact the CFO. And he's like, you have three options. You can comply with what they're asking you to do. You can buy them out, or you can quit. And I was like, well, obviously I'm not a complier, so I'm not doing that. I love my brand, so I'm not going to quit. And so buy them out. And I went on a journey of trying to buy them out. We agreed on a price. And between agreeing on a price and buying them out is like they wanted to ruin the Better Together brand. I wasn't able to focus on our mission of social impact. I was focused on, board of directors meetings and being outvoted on things and just, honestly, like crying every day about like, I don't want to do this. I don't like, I don't really know what to do. And it was just such a mess. I'd never obviously been in that situation either. And, I was in Toronto one day. It was the end of April. I was there for an annual meeting for small boutique PR agencies. And I was in the lobby of the hotel, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't like the feeling of not doing what my mission is. I don't like that they're controlling every part of the agency. And so I quit. I sent them an email and I said, I'm quitting Better Together. This will be my last day, effective, I think it was April 28th or April 25th. And I don't think they ever thought that I would quit because they know how much like the business meant to me. But I had so many people around me who said, Catherine, clients don't come to you because of your brand colors or your website. They come to you because they want to work with you.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. It took me a couple months to actually, can you do this? Can you really, after all of this time, like start over? And I just had to. It was one of the hardest because I thought like dealing with a racist coworker and a buyout was the hardest thing I was going to go through. And it was like, no, 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 just wait. We have more coming your way. And so I quit on I think it was a Friday. Saturday, me and the CFO, like we actually started working together again and we created another business. And the only word that changed was the technical legal term of the company was Better Together Communications, and we just changed it to Better Together Agency. And when I called the designer who designed our first website, and I told her the new website was the bettertogetheragency.com, she was like, "Oh, that's so much better for SEO." Like, so I knew
So
right
it just
then.
worked out. Yeah.
Yeah, so officially May 1st started the new agency and a couple of clients have been able to come over, but the way they treated clients, the investors were, you know, a lot of money situations and everything. And they took one of the employees, made her CEO of the company. But now they're in bankruptcy. So um goodness. Yeah. So I'm going to get ready to write a lot of information about that because I hope that that story shows how vulnerable I'm being, one, and then just what people can endure. And I hope it can help someone in the future who's may go through that or looking for investors or things like that.
Yeah, I think it's very, very useful to people, especially when they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And I think there's so many lessons here. So let's just dissect certain parts of it because I think it's super interesting. So I don't know if interesting, some of it is interesting, some of it is just disturbing, but I think it's important to cover. So first of all, with your coworker in Boston, talk to me a little bit about what does that look like? What are those what are those actions that she did? Like, what are the behaviors that she did that were racist towards you? Because I think sometimes we might not even pay attention, like whether you're a coworker, whether you're that person of color, whether you know what I'm saying. So ignorance is a thing, right? So like, what does that look like? What exactly went down?
Yeah, and going back a little bit to me growing up in Alabama, my parents didn't really teach me about microaggressions. And so
Mm,
I didn't grow up thinking, oh, this person is actually not being nice to me when they say this type of, phrase or anything like that. So it took me living through life, and I would say not until maybe I moved to DC and years after. Not that people are, have a lot of more microaggressions in DC. It's just when I started living life that I realized it. So going to Boston, and being around the different people who lived in the city, I just started to pick up on the way people would treat someone who's in a senior level position and they have to report to you in certain circumstances. But in this case, it was just blatant racism of, you don't deserve to be in this position of your color. You don't, I don't need to report to someone who is like you, that kind of thing. And I was in a higher position than her. She was older than me. And like this was all written out, like in where everybody could see. And I think one of the hardest things is that, you hire an HR consultant who's supposed to be like unbiased, and then that same person who sees the same information doesn't says it's not racist. And then when you're they are put up to, oh, legal action. Oh, all of a sudden it is racist and we need to pay you so you can leave. So
Mm,
it comes in so many different forms. It comes in blatant, I just don't want to work with you. Comes in being passive and not really addressing the situation, which is what the HR consultant did and the president of the agency. And, it was always hard for him to just fire people. Like he would rather situations just keep continuing than him firing the woman who was being racist.
mm,
I just, I don't know. That's just a characteristic of him. And so yeah, it came in a lot of different forms. And then I don't even know that it was really, yeah, it was a microaggression because they never really faced it. And they would, you know, they didn't blame it on me, but it was obvious that, they preferred the woman, white woman who was in the situation because they gave her a raise and promotion. I mean, that is blatant. That's right in front of you. So it definitely comes in a lot of different forms.
mm. Yeah, well, I'm sorry you went through that. That's certainly unfortunate. And I never been to Boston, and I've been wanting to go, but
Go.
I don't know anymore.
In fall, it's great. Go to like a Celtics game. Like that's when I feel like the city comes together is during
Yeah.
some kind of sports activity. So, but really quickly, I will say,
Mm,
I appreciate the, support, but I talked to so many women who have gone through the exact same thing at a job. And it's so like I thought I was an outlier. Like this can't happen everywhere. People aren't going through this, everywhere. Like it was so hard for me to believe. And now it's just like I tell this story and people are like, "Oh yeah, that happened to me too."
yeah, it's interesting. I used to so I used to live in the Middle East, and so I lived in America, then I moved to the Middle East, and then I came back a few years back. And in the Middle East, it's they have their own levels of racism against different nationalities and also like color and stuff like that. And it's almost like but now they're more like they don't tolerate it anymore, like or so they say, like zero tolerance type thing. But it was like kind of like a thing that everybody knew. Like you're discriminated against if you're from a certain country, if you have a certain passport, in terms of like pay, if you're in some case if you're a woman, like there's so many HR violations in general, just like alone. In some of those countries, that's like it's just normal, like it's out there, right? And racism against like different color was also there, but it's in your face, like, and you just it's kind of like it's in the open, so to say. And then I remember reflecting and when I came back to the US, and I was like, oh, like it's actually also kind of in your face in the US. It's just, or maybe it's less in your face, but it's like racism still exists. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's astonishing, and it's, but it is happening still to this day, and it's crazy. But it's just I don't know what it is. And like you said, like once you start speaking about, you like, and other women were also probably like, oh, I've experienced that as well. And they probably like, yeah, this is, I don't know what it is. And we continue to deal with it. Right. And I don't know if there's like, what's the like, how much more can we do? Like, what's the solution as a society? Right. Like it's crazy. Like at least in the Middle East, it's like, it's open. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to say like, we pretend that it doesn't exist here, but it does.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
saying?
it's a structural thing, like
Yeah.
I hate to, bring up George Floyd again. I feel, we go back to that, but that was like a real um, sign of how companies paying $1 million or doing whatever they say they were going to do when it comes to racism and trying to combat it. But it's like a gloss over. It's not getting down to the nitty gritty of like, why do we have racism in the first place? Like we were built on, racism, and that's what has just been perpetrated from education to healthcare to like every parts of our lives and what's happening now in Congress. Like, so it's just unless we get down to and people are willing to address the actual like structure of why we have it, it's never going to go away.
Hmm.
And so that's unfortunate, but we have to just keep fighting though. We can't, I mean, I can't say like, oh, structurally it's not gonna, work out, then I'm just not gonna not gonna
Yeah.
try. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe there's still generations that are like, once they kind of phase out, like the older generation. Maybe the new generations are a little bit more like, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like maybe the older generation still, I don't know, whatever they carry with them, and maybe they pass it. I don't know. But I'm hoping generationally, as we kind of phase out and we just grow further as society, maybe it will just be, different, hopefully, right? And we won't, maybe it will be non-existent one day. I don't think so. I don't think it will ever be non-existent. I don't think it's realistic it's sad to say. But yeah, because it's not, it's here as a thing, but then overseas, it's a whole other thing. I don't know if it's just weird human nature that we go through. I really don't know. That's a larger philosophical question that I can't answer and I don't understand, right? But
It definitely won't go away, just like sexism or ageism or, any of those. It's just always going to be something in our minds. And there's always, I mean, I don't know why I think about this. There's this movie called Mississippi Burning, and it's about the KKK. And like, there's this scene where they have their children with them burning crosses in people's yards. And so it's like, it looks different every generation, but there's a
Mhm.
way that it's represented.
Hmm.
And even, okay, so take AI. I just read an article this morning about women not picking up on AI as quickly as men. And that's like a tradition of women not being into tech as much as men and not, taking it on. And so it's like women are going to be behind in the workplace and then all the other things. So it's like
Hmm.
it's like we're always going to be behind because
We're
there's
not
other
smart
things that
enough,
come
Catherine,
up.
to pick up AI. Okay.
Let's get tech savvy and let's do this. But it's like
Yeah.
there's always something that holds us back, It's just, it's just
Yeah.
not that people necessarily mean to do it. It's just like the way it's been. And so, women have so many other things to do that
Yeah.
me sitting down and using ChatGPT, maybe I don't necessarily have time to do that.
Yeah. And I think some of it is just I think for some of it is the intent is not ill. Like it's not ill intended. It's more of just true ignorance. True not knowing, not understanding, not do you know what I'm saying? Because so it's I mean, as a white person, there's certain things I will never understand. Like I just can't. Like I can't. I've not have that lived experience. I can try to understand, but I don't think I will ever fully understand. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
think with that comes a level of just yeah, like not understanding, maybe some parts of ignorance. I mean, frankly speaking, I don't know. And I think that, and I try to think about these things. I try to care about these things, but imagine somebody who doesn't. So, and it doesn't mean they're ill-intended, but I think they just maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I met with this woman in a Slack channel I'm in, and she leads community engagement for the Slack channel and or Slack group. And she, at the end of it, was like, there are a lot of women who want to meet you. And I just assumed like in general, like women, but she meant Black women. And then she was like, I'm so ignorant about this. I hate to ask this, but what does diversity mean? And she was like,
mm,
that just mean Black people? And that it caught me off guard so much. It's like, she was like, is that Hispanic people? And I'm like, I mean, I didn't say this, but it's just like, what are you talking about? Yes. And I just said, anyone who's not white, like that's diversity. And she was like, oh, I just had no idea like what the definition is. And I wanted to say like, well, there's Google, there's a lot of AI tools you could have asked instead of
yeah,
asking a Black woman. So it's just I don't think that she was being malicious. I think she just didn't know. But there's also resources out there so
yeah,
that you're not as ignorant about it,
yeah,
Say
yeah,
you
fair
want to meet
enough.
people in general, not you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, fair enough, fair enough. It's um we live in a different age and like there's almost no excuse to some extent like like certain I think certain questions just have no excuse to be asked but then other things a little bit more complex and complicated but I think anyway so I do want to wrap up on this part but I do think it's important to bring it up because I think that even in the so talent development is the space that I'm in recruitment is the space that I'm in right and it's like there's so much that we try to do to kind of make sure that these things don't happen, make sure that racism does, make sure that we're not biased, make sure that we're not unconsciously, whatever it is. and it still slips through the door. You know what I'm saying? So like from a career development, talent development perspective, I think we should have these conversations healthy and not just ignore it, like you said, or just put a band-aid on broken legs because it doesn't move us forward as a society. But moving forward to, so you've left that, you had an opportunity to kind of join this better together communication, right? And then you went off and, as you said, kind of started Better Together agency. So throughout that time, what has been like, there seems like a lot of challenges, but what would you say is like the biggest thing that you didn't recognize around working with investors? You didn't understand, like what would, like looking back, what would have helped you made maybe different decisions or just prepared you a little bit better for the chaos you were about to face? Like what are some things that, as you reflect back, that could be helpful for the audience?
Yeah, I was definitely taken advantage of, and I would have asked so many more questions. I did not have a lawyer look at any of the paperwork. And one of my downfalls, I don't know, downfalls, but one thing I realized about myself is I think everyone's just good. Like why would you be a bad person to someone you don't
Mm,
know? Like why would you intentionally do something bad? So I obviously didn't think that anything I was signing was bad, but that was so ignorant on my part not to have people looking at it, making sure I was like making that right decision. And one thing I also don't like is like once I have my like mind made up to do something, I really don't want anybody to change that mindset. So if I had someone look at it and they said, "Oh, you shouldn't move forward with us," then I'd be like, now I have to make a real decision on it that I may not want to do. Even my dad said, "Why would you go with those investors? Like you could just do this yourself." And I was like, well, I could scale faster and I could do X, Y, and Z and all of that. So I would say ask more questions, have other people read it. If you can't like afford a lawyer, attorney, just like have your family look at it, have friend, just someone else look at it. And then be really, really involved in the finances. We had the CFO who I, trusted, but there were things like they said they had raised $10 million dollars and that was how they were supporting the founders. But actually they had taken out loans on
mm.
against all of our companies that we were paying for every month that we did not know we were paying for. And
Oh, that's bad.
yeah,
That's ballsy on their part.
yeah, that we had
Where,
no idea that we were paying for.
oh my goodness. Where were they based again?
So they like one lives in Connecticut, one lives in Germany.
Mm.
So they each have their own companies, and it was just, I don't know, it was just like I had no idea. And so yeah, just even if you have a CFO or whoever it is, just like always being knee deep in the finances. And we had monthly meetings. We went over all the scenarios of hiring and clients and all of that good stuff. But the day to day, like who are we paying? What expenses are we paying? Just be very involved in that. And
Mm.
I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about finances. Like, that's so great. But definitely, it's a part of owning a company. And so you just have to be involved in it. So ask
Yeah.
questions, be involved in finance, and just, yeah, always ask questions, not at just the beginning, but throughout the whole process.
Yeah. That's super valid. Yeah, I think the finance part is like it's good. I'm horrible at finances in general. Like I failed accounting twice. I tend to outsource a lot of things when I need to. But it's such an important part. Luckily you have with your company now, Better Together Agency, you have the CFO working with you. So that's perfect because you have that financial person in-house essentially. And now it's just you guys. You guys are kind of the co-founders now of your agency, correct?
Yeah, I'm the founder. He's,
Yeah.
if he
She's the
listens,
CFO.
just the CFO.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So I'm the owner, founder, CEO, like,
yeah.
yeah. So, and I'm glad that I can say owner now because the investors did have majority stake in the company before, which is why it made it so difficult
Mm,
for me and why I could just quit because it's essentially I was a employee. I still do
yeah,
have like 20% in the company, but now it's bankrupt. Another story to
yeah, yeah.
figure out. But yeah, the finance part is so crucial.
Yeah, for sure. And now, so I mean, first of all, congrats to going through all of that.
Thank
But you're on the other side of it, so that's
you.
great. So now, first of all, tell people what is PR, because some people like, what does PR actually do? Like, okay, it's public relations, but what does that actually mean? Because I think a lot of people don't know. So let's dive a little bit into that, and then what is it that you actually do for the clients, and how are you making sure you're making that social impact that you want to make?
Right. It's really funny because the PR community is having a hard time with what PR is. So a lot of, like when I was growing up and first starting, public relations was communications in general. So whether it was like marketing or, social media, earned media, um, design, it just encompasses everything. And now it's turned into like when you say public relations, think people think media relations and, working with reporters to get stories out there, kind of the traditional media being in on the radio or in newspapers. And so I say now just communications and we just work in the communications industry, and so we're a fully integrated agency in that I like to give the analogy of, if you were having a protest, we could cover the media outreach, the social media awareness, we could design the posters, we could get the people out to the protest, we could get the photographer and videographer, like everything you would need for a successful protest, we could do it. So that's kind of how they, make it easier to understand like kind of what we do. So all of those things. And when it comes to social impact, we're in all industries, which I really love. And so it's like, say it's media relations, we would build maybe thought leadership op-eds, different things like that for, nutrition, for education, for, affordable housing. Like, how do we build awareness around one, the problems, but also how are these organizations and companies providing solutions for that? So, um, Giant Food is a regional grocery store that's in the District of Columbia area. And they provide so, you might go to the grocery store, but they provide so much community outreach and community service for different people in the area who might need turkeys for Thanksgiving or, different organizations that they support community members or they turn food waste into energy. And so there's all these different elements of things that corporations, that nonprofits are doing that people don't know about. And so that's kind of what we're using communications for, is to build that awareness. So hopefully, people might start shopping, there, or they might find expertise in these thought leaders and subject matter experts. So it really runs the gamut and is tailored to what an organization needs. So not everyone needs to be on TikTok or on LinkedIn or, have an article in the New York Times. Like everybody has different audiences they're trying to reach, different goals they're trying to reach. And so that's why we're fully integrated to help, from a social impact perspective, help those clients reach those goals. And a lot of agencies, I've worked at a ton of them, they just don't have that mindset of social impact. The basics of, communications, as I said, as public relations are the same. Like you're the foundation of what you're doing, but it's how you think about doing those things that are different for Better Together agency. And that, if we're using AI, we recognize the biases in those AI systems. So, and you might have people who are, using it and they think it's wonderful, and it is. It's a great tool. They're great tools, but they don't realize the bias in it. Not because just because they're ignorant and haven't been educated on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what we try to do through everything that our work is doing. We're AI forward agency in that we're human centric. We put our people first, our clients first, but we amplify that through AI. So like I just created a co-CEO AI tool. And so I brainstorm with the CEO. I, ask for advice. I'm like, what should I be prioritizing for Better Together right now so that we can, achieve these goals down the road? And I I know that's a little getting a little strange, like talking to it. We named it yesterday. Her
What did
name
you
is
name it?
Jordan.
I love it.
So,
And that's
um,
hey, this is you're doing it right, okay? Because I think embracing it is better than just ignoring it.
so there are a lot of elements of, figuring out the social impact of AI, different tools, of the communications outreach that we're doing. It's just taking that perspective and putting it into work that we do. So, yeah.
Mm. Let me ask you a question. As you kind of reflect back, do you think you would have started the agency on your own? Because it sounds like to me like it was kind of like this experience with the investors part almost pushed you to start your own agency, which is like, did you ever like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, did you ever think it would happen this way? Like, was it in the back of your mind you wanted to own your own agency? Or I mean, because you were kind of owning it when you went with the that company, right? Like you, so you had ownership, but it wasn't like full ownership. But I'm just saying, because as you're telling the story and as you're talking about it, and I was like, man, I was like, she's gonna make it like so big, and it's gonna be like a household name, Better Together Agency. And then like and then I wonder if you ever think back and you're like, that horrible experience was actually what launched you officially 100% owner of your own thing.
Yeah, for sure. I would not have started, even like without the investors, I don't think I would have started an agency that's like on my own. I really believe I would have been too afraid to do that without
Mm,
the investors. And I didn't have the confidence in myself at that point to do it. Like do it with someone, sure, but completely on my own, knowing I had others supporting me, but really it's on my own. I don't think I would have started. And it is, you're right, that there are different situations that push me to go in a certain direction that I didn't even know I could be successful in. And so being at that agency, going through the buyout, that led to, being open to a recruiter on Ladies Get Paid Slack group, to, investors doing things I didn't think they would do, and a day later starting my own agency. I don't know, you're right. It's like a
mm,
ripple effect that has allowed me to grow into someone who's stronger every time I go through all those situations.
mm.
Now I would choose not to go through them for everything to just be smooth, but
Yeah.
that's not how life is. So,
Yeah.
and I do love challenges, so I think it's
Let's do different kind of
I'm,
challenges though for the future, right? Yeah.
I'm like, you can stop now. Just a challenge. I'll have
Yeah.
a challenge in 2026. Let's just keep
Yeah.
it calm for 2025.
Well, it just seems like it was just accelerated what maybe, you know what I'm saying, to get you here. And then, because as you're talking, I was like, man, I was like, imagine like we're having this conversation 2, 3 years from now, and, you're doing amazing work. You continue to work with all these big brands. And it's like all of this, you're going to laugh at that experience. You
I
know what I'm
hope
saying? Yeah,
so.
you will. But, like in hindsight, but it's hard to feel that way yet because it's still fresh in the beginning of the journey. But like I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's always that. Like it's always like as you're talking, I was like, oh, I was like, she's just in the beginning stages of it, but like 2, 3 years, she's gonna look back, and that story she's gonna be like, listen, like it was like a jumping board, but it's like every story is like that. Like I mean, I've had my own share of like business, things that didn't go exactly the way I wanted to, and like complete just disasters and stuff like that. So it's like and as you're talking, you remind me of a lot of my guests that I speak to that started their own ventures, but they'd be like, 5 years in by the time they're talking to me,
Yeah.
but then you're one of the few people that are still like in that, first year of your own thing, but already doing awesome things. So anyway, it's just interesting because I think, like I said, 2 years from now, and I'm curious how you're going to think about it 2 years from now.
Yeah. I'll keep you
It's
updated
still
for sure.
fresh. Yeah, it's still fresh.
We'll see. Yeah, because right now I do not feel that. I
Yeah.
I even had someone this morning emailed me saying how amazing she thought the work that we were doing and all this kind of stuff. And I said, I sometimes you don't realize how much a difference hearing those words from people really helps like uplift you, and like it's
Mm,
what exactly you needed to hear. So
yeah.
uh, this whole conversation, I'm trying not to get emotional, but yeah, I mean, it's just you need that during your daily life.
Yeah.
Just hearing those things and realizing that there is a purpose for what's happening and what you're doing.
Yeah. And so how are you, and kind of as we wrap up this conversation, how are you keeping yourself just, motivated and continue to keep going and just like, just because it's still fresh, like it's still raw, the feeling, the emotions. So what are you doing? What are some of your habits or routines that help you kind of stay grounded and just help you, continue to build that resilience?
Yeah, I would say right now, since I'm starting over with employees and all of that, that I have more free time. So okay, free time. I have more time to just do things when I want to do them.
Yeah.
So I'm able to go to, I know this is not that big of a deal, but a coffee shop and just work
It
at
is
any.
a big deal.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm actually going to Japan to visit my cousin in September. I'm going to Antarctica in, in January. So it's just all those things that I
Amazing.
love traveling, different cultures, different ways of living. That really excites me. So doing all of that, as well as I hang out with friends. I go to monuments, I go to museums. Really embrace DC and everything I love about it. And I can see the Capitol and the Washington Monument like outside of my window, and
Well, that's awesome.
I'm just like, oh my God. So anybody I'm obsessed with DC, and I think a lot of people who live here are as well. But I surround myself with as many people as I can who make me laugh. Go see family more, and yeah. So those are things that are in my life that I'm able to enjoy more, and honestly, also what keeps me excited with the business is I get to take the learnings from when I had the investors, what I learned in hiring and operations, and I get to redo all of that. I get to take those
Mhm.
learnings and apply them to what I'm doing now and have that fresh perspective. And the AI forward aspect, I don't know that I would have been able to easily, smoothly incorporate that into the agency before. And now it's just like who we are, which is just, I think, phenomenal. And I'm really
Oh,
excited about it.
that's amazing. Where can people get in touch with you? Where they can get a hold of you as on individual in case they want to reach out and kind of share their stories, or they can find you to work with you?
Of course. So our website is thebettertogetheragency.com. So thebettertogetheragency.com. And I'm on LinkedIn at Catharine Montgomery. And I'm sure my name will be
Yep.
somewhere because it's Catharine. And then we're on LinkedIn at the Better Together Agency on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's where we're mostly at. So you can find us there. But go to the website and you can find all of our social channels as well.
Amazing. All that will be in the show notes. And Catherine, I hope we speak in about 2 years, let's say. And
Yeah.
I think we're gonna it's gonna go by real fast. Don't
It
worry.
is.
Like it's gonna go
Yeah.
by so fast. But I would love to talk in like a year to 2 years and see where you are because I think you're gonna do amazing things.
Yeah, I'll create a task for myself so I remember. Of
Thank you for coming on the show.
course, thanks for having me.